friends, and welcome to the Average Gal's Guide to Anxiety. In today's video, we're going to be talking about coping techniques, both long-term and short-term. Coping with anxiety can seem really daunting, but today there are so many resources that you can use for coping long-term and short-term with your anxiety. In today's video, I'll be focusing mainly on coping with generalized anxiety and panic disorder because those are the things that I struggle with the most, but there are all kinds of resources for whatever else that you're struggling with. I'll start first with my long-term coping techniques. For long-term coping, I've done medication and I've done a lot of counseling. Now, medication isn't for everybody, but for me, it's helped me a lot in coping with my daily symptoms and for overall reducing my anxiety. I have one medication that I take daily, and that's what helps reduce the symptoms overall and over time. But I also have a prescription for Xanax, which not everybody should take. But for me, it helps me in the short term if I'm having a really bad day or just a really bad anxiety or panic attack. My other long-term coping technique is counseling, which I highly recommend. I started off seeing a child psychologist, and he was the one who first diagnosed me, and then he helped me start to sort through what I was going through at the time and what my anxiety looked like. There are a lot of different types of counselors and therapists, but the ones that I've seen are a child psychologist, licensed professional counselors, and a psychiatrist who's usually there to determine what's the best medication to take for your symptoms. Like I said earlier, my psychologist at the beginning was instrumental in helping me get a diagnosis and helping me get my mind around what was going on because I was 9 at the time, so I didn't quite understand all the symptoms that were going on. But over time, he really helped me understand generalized anxiety disorder, what I was dealing with, and what I could do to help cope with it. I've done counseling off and on over the years for different issues that have come up over the years and just different periods of my life that were more anxious than others. But counselors have been really effective in talking through what I'm feeling, what I'm going through, and making it feel a little bit more normal. Another of my favorite long-term coping strategies is research. I've looked into tons of books like these, and I like to read on websites and on scientific journals just to get a feel for what's out there and what kind of research is out there on anxiety, depression, panic disorder, all those things. Not everybody gets super into that, but for me it's helped a lot because the way my mind works, if I understand what's going on, I feel like I can handle it a lot better. So if research is interesting to you, there are so many resources out there that I highly recommend. Next, we'll talk about short-term coping strategies. And when I say short-term, I mean in the moment when the anxiety or panic is happening. There are a million different ways to cope with anxiety and panic attacks, and there's always different things that work for different people, but I'll share some of my favorites with you. When I feel an anxiety or panic attack coming on, probably one of the biggest helpful coping mechanisms is deep breathing. One of my favorite deep breathing exercises is called box breathing. So, what you do is you hold your breath for 4 seconds, and then you inhale for 4 seconds, and then you exhale for 4 seconds. And then you keep doing it until it helps, and then you can feel your heartbeat starts to slow down and all of the different symptoms going on to start to slow down as well. There are all sorts of breathing exercises out there. You can look them up online, but that's one of my favorites, and it's helped a lot over the years. Another one of my favorite ways of coping when anxiety happens is talking with somebody. Now, if you live alone, that can be really hard, but for me, I always like to talk to a family member, one of my best friends, and most especially my husband, because then I can talk through whatever I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, and it really helps me calm down a lot, and it also helps me to kind of rationalize what's going on in my head. Another couple things that I like to do is I like to listen to music. Music is a really big thing for me. So what I like to listen to whenever I'm feeling really anxious or panicky about something is soft jazz, classical music, and because I'm a Christian, I also really like to listen to some worship music. There are a few artists out there whose music really calms me down and it helps clear my mind. Another of my favorite ways to help calm myself down is cleaning or organizing. So if I'm starting to feel really panicky, just getting up and walking around and cleaning something in the house or organizing the closet, whatever helps. Another great short-term coping strategy is some form of exercise, even stretching. You can do yoga, Pilates, you can do a little dance video on YouTube, anything just to get your body moving and just kind of release all those feelings and tension in your body. Another great coping mechanism is journaling. So sometimes I'll write in a journal or I'll do my anxiety journal, and it helps me to kind of think through what I'm feeling and get my anxiety out on paper, which really helps sometimes. Sometimes it also helps me if I just do word searches, so I have a little Jane Austen word search. And then I also really like to do jigsaw puzzles. I can do physical ones, and I've also found ones that I can do online, and those just help clear my head and just kind of focus on something that I can do with my hands just to take my mind off what's making me anxious and to just clear it all out. There are also a lot of great resources out on YouTube that can help you with meditating. They can help you with like affirmations. And there are a lot that help you kind of meditate and go through your day right before you go to sleep. And I found those really helpful on days or weeks or months that I'm just having a lot of anxiety. Another great method for dealing with anxiety, especially if you're having a lot of anxiety all throughout the day, are fidget rings. I've heard of fidget spinners, but fidget rings are really great for just a small little thing that you can wear on your hand, and you can just sit there and fidget, like if you're worried or anxious or nervous about something at school or at work or wherever you are. Another really big thing that helps me a lot is watching one of my favorite shows. I love Parks and Rec, Frasier, Big Bang Theory, anything that just makes me laugh and helps calm my mind down. And of course, I'm a huge fan of herbal tea. This is my very favorite tea, honey vanilla chamomile. I think it's by Celestial Seasonings, but I've found that herbal tea really helps to just kind of warm my body and release the tension, and it just helps me relax. So I highly recommend a glass or a cup of tea if you're feeling really stressed out. The last coping strategy we'll talk about is the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique. And the basis of it is just grounding yourself in reality and kind of taking yourself out of your head and back into the moment. So what you do is you find 5 things you can see, 4 things you can feel, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. And you can do a modified version if that sounds too daunting. But what it does is it kind of brings you back into the moment and out of your head, and it helps you to just feel the ground around you and make sure that you're feeling safe. It's not one that I do often, but it does help me a lot. I've found when I can feel things and kind of bring myself out of my head, I'm able to work through my anxiety a lot better. I know we talked about a lot of things in today's video, but I do a lot of different things, both long-term and short-term, for helping my anxiety. And I've found that after 20 years of doing all of these things and trying whatever works, it's helped me a lot in coping with this. So if you need any recommendations, feel free to leave a comment below. I hope this video was super helpful for you. Please remember to like and subscribe and leave some comments down below if you want some recommendations on things that I use for coping, or if you have suggestions of your own, feel free to leave them down below. Thanks. Bye.